I'm going to use this as a segue into talking about Brehon Law for a second, if that's okay. Brehon Law was the legal system of pre-colonial Ireland, and it was one of the most sophisticated and decentralized legal traditions in Europe before English common law was imposed. It's rooted in the oral tradition. That means it was passed down verbally to druids who weren't priests. They were healers and scholars and lawyers and all sorts of things. And there was no centralized authority. It was just loads of druids from different places that followed the same general moral code. So justice was handled by brehons. You could go to a judge. There was no prison. Repeat offenders of crimes would face higher and higher fines, but also social ostracization and exile. They'd kick you out of the group for being funky. Society was structured into tua, which were small kin-based groups. Women had high social standing. They could divorce. They could own property. They could enter contracts. All land was owned communally. There was no private landlords. But contracts were strict to prevent unfair advantages. There's a strong emphasis on trade, so cooperation, and use of the land and the water were mutually regulated between all of the groups because they knew to prevent environmental damage. And if you're Indigenous watching this and it sounds familiar, it probably is because this is the natural order of things. Physicians and poets were held in high social standing in the community and were usually compensated by the collective. But if a doctor injured somebody due to negligence, they may owe financial compensation. The kings all ruled by consensus, so there was a high king. So it was justice through community enforcement. It was consensus-based leadership, and it was trust networks based on logic, economic logic contracts. Everyone had local responsibility, kin-based accountability, and decentralized autonomous organization. So long before the internet, I think Brehon Law pairs very nicely with the plans of today. This is a common proposition from the left about how better to structure society and organizations. No longer with the exploitation. This is where it gets really Marxist and communist, but seize the means of your worker cooperative. We already live inside a system that is designed to accommodate democracy. We are just not using it for democracy. We're using it for feudalism when we're so close to democracy. Seize the means. We don't need Donald Trump sitting over everybody with a big fat ego and a big fat finger on the nuke button. You already have the roles of government within your statehoods, within your community, within your town. Where's the community town hall for your local area? If you're involved in tech, if you work for one of those big ludicrous tech giants doing bullshit project sprints, take some afternoons back and go and give it to your local community and start building decentralized networking tools so that we can vote on our phones. My big dream for the world is usable UI, so people can engage civically without needing to deal with all the pompous fucking circus and bread that's thrown at them currently by the feudalists who don't want democracy. This is democracy. Decentralized decision making, cooperation, boards and chairs and lots of things that people make decisions together. That's what I think is cool.